I think everyone and their relatives know what Nick Jr. is. If you don't know what Nick Jr. is, which, you're most definitely living under a rock. Nick Jr. is a preschool block and television channel that's associated with Nickelodeon and is the preschool arm of Nickelodeon, which by 2000 to 2001, the brand quickly became a multimedia franchise that made billions of dollars by the 2010s that makes up of various media, such as toys, video games, home media releases, theater screenings, movies and a lot more. But that's not the focus of this totally not boring video today. This video focuses for why Nick Jr. has had a massive decline in quality since 2015. Yes, not 2009, not 2012 but 2015. And I'm going to explain for why Paw Patrol isn't the fault here and is innocent. Let's dive in.
It's $100.
Jokes aside, on March 18, 2015, a large chunk of Nick Jr., or as it's called, Nickelodeon preschool television staff was laid off by Paramount's Guidance Corporation as part of the company's restructuring efforts. The workers affected by the layoffs were general workers, executives, people at the scheduling department, overseers and much more, and to an extent, Nick Jr.'s major clients were all affected by this too. The primary ones affected by this were Terry Weiss and K. Wilson Stallings. Terry Weiss was the creator of Moose and Z, the mascots of Nick Jr. from 2003 to 2012, and was previously in the SVP position. Weiss started working at Nick Jr. in 1999 when the brand was still mostly an afterthought and wasn't printing much money outside of Blue's Clues. Terry Weiss helped develop several Nick Jr. shows such as Team Umizoomi, Bubble Guppies, Go Diego Go, The Wonder Pets and Olivia. K. Wilson Stallings likewise started working at Nick Jr. in 1999 and was responsible for overseeing the production of Bubble Guppies, Blaze and the Monster Machines, Fresh Beat Band and Zack and Quack. In her previous position at Nick Jr. as VP of Development and Production, she helped develop shows such as Backyardigans, Yo Gabba Gabba, Wow, Wow, Wubsy, Lazy Town and Peter Rabbit. Another person to be noted is Brown Johnson. Brown Johnson was not affected by the layoffs as she fully left in 2014 and was stepping down as early as 2012, a year and 2 years respectively before this all occurred. However, she is relevant to this matter. Brown Johnson started work at Nickelodeon in 1987, a year before Nick Jr. launched, and she started working at Nick Jr. in 1993. Johnson is very important to Nick Jr. as a whole as she helped with the making of Blue's Clues, Dora the Explorer, Go Diego Go, Yo Gabba Gabba, Team Umizoomi, The Backyardigans, and Ni Hao Kai Lan. Johnson started to step down from Nick Jr. in mid-2012, August 29 to be exact, following restructuring and to pursue her own creative opportunities, and she fully left in February 2014. According to her LinkedIn, the reason for why Johnson fully left in early 2014 is currently unknown, but it's likely because of what she said in 2012. Another one not affected was Janie Tran, aka January Tran, because she was a freelance designer not employed at Nick Jr.'s offices. Janie Tran was an artist and designer for Nick Jr. from 2004 to 2019. If you're wondering where these four are now, Weiss, Wilson Stallings and Janie Tran are currently working at Sesame Workshop, and Brown Johnson also worked at Sesame Workshop from 2014 up to 2020 when she retired, and is currently self-employed at her own company called Brown Johnson Co., which she launched in 2014. It's pretty clear that they are basically done with Nick Jr., and because they were laid off, don't expect shit to change regarding Nick Jr. because of it. The reason for why the layoffs happened was, as mentioned earlier, restructuring. It was done as it expected to help save the company $250 million a year. However, it could also be for several other factors that affected Nick Jr. the most, such as the commercial failure of Dora and Friends, Into the City, the critical and commercial failure of Nick Mom, and the critical failure of the 2012 rebrand, Nick Jr. The Smart Place to Play, which while a commercial success was a failure with parents and to an extent critics, which sucks cause it's my favorite era, but this is what I mean by how it failed in the critical area. Okay, not all of them, but you know what I mean. The poor critical response to the rebrand is probably why Nick Jr. ditched Gretel early and didn't assign the company to other projects for the brand. Now without Brown Johnson, Terry Weiss and Kay Wilson Stallings. Nobody truly understood the brand as much as these three did, and without them, nobody knew what to do. A Nickelodeon spokesperson was asked who was replacing the Nick Jr. team and did not respond, but after discovery from people, it's been discovered on LinkedIn that the Nick Jr. team was replaced with people at the Nickelodeon team who either did not understand or know about Nick Jr. that much, or straight up didn't give a flying fuck about it. Following the layoffs, a wave of Nick Jr. shows got the axe, such as Yo Gabba Gabba, Julius Jr., Team Umizoomi, Olivia and Lalaloopsy. Julius Jr. received the worst end of it, as it has not been broadcast anywhere on television since its last episode release, and it was incredibly hard to watch the show during 2021 to 2025. Julius Jr. was sent over to Netflix as Nick Jr. was basically done with it by that point. The Nick executives who took over don't really care much about a majority of the Nick Jr. shows released between 1994 and 2014 and even 2015 onward. So if you're not Dora, Peppa Pig, Paw Patrol, Blue's Clues, to an extent Backyardigans and Oswald, Team Umizoomi, Bubble Guppies and partially Max and Ruby, you're basically an afterthought. The Nick Jr. brand doesn't know what it wants to be now. The way the brand completely disregards its past self annoys me. Such a creative, charming and fun brand now melted down into the most barebones washed-up franchise imaginable, with zero real identity, now purely to appeal to parents who just put an iPad in front of their kid and call it a day. Only appealing to the lowest common denominator because new executives don't know how to control the brand, don't care about it, have turned themselves into a corner and making their major studios ditch them for the other networks. The pre-2015 shows are basically invalidated by the horrifically made decisions of the modern era. Talking about the brand's actual issues other than a certain show, which is Paw Patrol, which was never at fault, is frowned upon. They clearly want this brand to be done for at this point, considering they don't have anything to keep them big and consistently afloat anymore except the same four shows, which are Dora, Peppa and Paw Patrol, which have done the brand financial wonders for the past decade, which this brand would have died instantly had it gotten rid of all three, and also the constant need for nostalgia bait. This brand cannot decide if it's for preschoolers, nostalgic adults, parents, or synergy content for Nickelodeon. The brand has a huge evident lack of clarity and care now, and it's sickening to watch the quality decline. This is why the past two rebrands have not been that good. Now it's time to explain for why Paw Patrol is innocent and not at fault for the bad decisions. Before you ask, the reason why I didn't say Peppa Pig wasn't a fault either is because while it isn't in as much as I like it, it's like Nick Jr.'s Pokemon. Pokemon is a Nintendo franchise and is associated with it, but at the same time, it is its own thing. Like how Peppa is with Nick Jr., Paw Patrol is a lot more of a pushed show by Nick Jr. than Peppa is also. Anyways, that's beside the point. Paw Patrol, or as you Nick Jr. fans like to call it, Spam Patrol, is not the fault of the problems with Nick Jr. If you want to know why Paw Patrol is milked or spammed so much, then it's not because of its own self. It's because it's one of the major things still giving Nick Jr. financial support. If they didn't spam it or milk it for one day or even took it off air, Nick Jr. lose billions and billions of dollars and potentially even be retired as a brand because of the amount of profits lost for both Paramount, Skydance and Spin Master. The new workers at Nick Jr. see it as smart to overplay Paw Patrol cause it makes quick cash. A babysitter will turn it on regularly and it's accessible basically anytime, anywhere. The new workers at Nick Jr. also milk Paw Patrol so much because there's no other show besides Peppa and to an extent Dora that gives them money. Without cash, Nick Jr. would probably only have 1K and possibly even lower in profit. Paw Patrol isn't the fault here for the poor decisions, and rather because Nick Jr. executives simply do not care about the brand anymore and only see Paw Patrol as the most viable show and makes it look bad by overplaying it too much, which isn't Paw Patrol's own fault. Paw Patrol is the only thing actively keeping Nick Jr. afloat. Had they cancelled it now or taken it off air right here and right now, Nick Jr. would be killed and the entire team would be sent back over to Nick, which they definitely would want to be. Paw Patrol isn't ruining Nick Jr. It's keeping it alive, as the franchise has had zero real cultural relevance or impact after 2014. Yes, it is overplayed, but that's because Paw Patrol is making quick money and rerun view benefits for the brand. So yes, the reason for why Nick Jr. sucks now is because of the executives and their poor decisions, not Paw Patrol. Sorry for ending this video off anticlimactic, but I wanted to clear out the fact that Paw Patrol is completely innocent and is doing this brand wonders. Thank you, and I appreciate you for watching this video.